Over 75? If walking is the only exercise you do, you might be missing the one move that does more for your strength, your balance, and your independence, the humble sit to stand. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to do it safely, and why researchers say it may outperform walking for the things that matter most as we age. Walking is wonderful. It's good for your heart, your mood, your lungs. Nobody's telling you to stop. But walking has a blind spot. It doesn't build much leg strength. And after 75, leg strength is often the single biggest factor separating someone who lives independently from someone who doesn't. Here's why that matters. Every time you rise from a chair, a toilet, or a car seat, you're relying on the same muscle group, your quadriceps, glutes, and hip stabilizers. Research reviewed by researchers studying functional fitness note that falls among older adults remain a serious public health problem, NHI, and the ability to rise from a seated position again and again is one of the clearest predictors of how well someone can move through daily life. A team publishing in a peer-reviewed review on sit-to-stand mechanics found that recovering the physical activity involved in daily life is especially important for older adults, since higher activity levels are tied to better physical function overall, PubMed Central. That same review noted something striking. In studies of senior athletes, the power generated while rising from a chair actually declines with age, even when balance and weight shifting stay similar. PubMed Central. Meaning it's specifically that stand-up strength that fades first, not general mobility. So the problem isn't that walking is bad. It's that walking alone doesn't train the exact strength pattern most responsible for fall risk, hospital visits, and loss of independence in the 75+ population. So what does the research say actually works better? Let's look at 4 separate bodies of evidence. A large systematic review and meta-analysis, published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, pooled data across 10 studies on resistance-type training. The findings were significant, compared with people who did no resistance training at all. Those who did any amount of resistance training had about a 15% lower risk of dying from any cause, a 19% lower risk of cardiovascular death, and a lower cancer mortality risk as well. Science Direct, ResearchGate. What's important here is the word independent. A related large cohort study tracking nearly 90,000 older adults specifically examined strength activities separately from walking-type aerobic activity, precisely to see whether one could substitute for the other, or whether combining both mattered most. The takeaway from this broader body of research, summarized in a 2024 review published in the International Journal of Epidemiology, is that muscle strengthening exercises done on 2 or more days a week are recommended right alongside aerobic activities like brisk walking, Oxford Academic, and the combination of both produces greater improvements in cardiovascular risk markers and metabolic health than either one alone, Oxford Academic. In plain terms, walking protects your heart and lungs. Strength work, and specifically functional strength work like sit-to-stand, protects your mortality risk in a way walking alone doesn't fully cover. This is where sit-to-stand specifically comes in, rather than resistance training in general. A systematic review published in PMC looked specifically at fall prevention exercise programs for community-dwelling older adults. Across the studies that used lower limb strengthening exercises, researchers found significant improvements in lower extremity strength, balance, mobility, and gait measured using tools like the sit-to-stand test, the timed up-and-go test, and the 30-second chair stand test. PubMed Central. A more recent digital fall prevention trial, called KOKU, tracked 202 older adults with an average age of 76. After just 12 weeks, participants doing structured functional exercise showed a statistically significant improvement in balance scores, along with measurable gains in lower limb strength, as tracked by the 5 times sit-to-stand chair test NIH. And a case study following older adults in a senior living community found even more dramatic real-world results. Over the course of a fall reduction exercise program, participants improved their timed up-and-go score from 13.5 to 10.4 seconds. Their 30-second sit-to-stand count from 10.5 to 13.4 repetitions, and their walking speed from 0.81 to 0.98 meters per second NIH. And notably, no participants in the program experienced a fall or hospitalization during the study period, NIH. That's not a small effect. That's the difference between struggling to get off the couch and moving through your day with confidence. Some researchers have tested this question directly. walking versus resistance style training in the same population at the same time. One prospective clinical trial split older adults into two groups, one doing structured resistance exercises twice weekly, the other doing 30-minute walking sessions twice weekly. After following participants for months, researchers found that the resistance training group showed significant improvement in sit-to-stand ability. And in balance with feet positioned close together, or in align improvements, the walking group did not show to the same degree, NIH. Both groups improved on a 6-minute walk test, but interestingly, the walking-only group did not show a statistically significant improvement in that same walking distance test, NIH. A separate meta-analysis pooling 22 studies and over 3,600 participants, ranging in age from 63 to 87, reinforced this. It found that resistance training produced meaningful improvements in 6-minute walk distance, lower extremity strength, and usual gait speed compared to non-exercising control groups, NIH. And crucially, these benefits held up whether resistance training was done alone or as part of a broader exercise program, NIF. The researchers concluded that this kind of training improves walking capacity itself, along with strength and speed, and may help older adults remain independent in their own homes for longer, NIH. In other words, strength training doesn't just compete with walking in several trials, it improved walking ability more than walking itself did. This matters if you or a loved one has already had a fall or a near fall. A recent review on physical activity prescription for older adults pointed out that brisk walking programs may actually be contraindicated for individuals at high risk of falling, PubMed Central, and that clinicians may need to consider alternative, more controlled exercise modalities with gradual progression for this group, PubMed Central. Sit to stand, done from a stable chair with support nearby, is exactly that kind of controlled, gradually progressive option. Here's how physical therapists, including guidance published by Johns Hopkins Medicine, recommend doing this move. Start seated on a sturdy chair with a flat back, no wheels, that won't slide. Feet flat on the floor, roughly hip-width apart. Have a stable surface in front of you, a countertop or heavy table that you can reach for support if needed. Johns Hopkins Medicine. Lean your chest forward over your toes, shifting your weight forward before you rise. This engages your hips properly and reduces strain on your knees. Squeeze your glutes and rise slowly to a full, stable standing position. Johns Hopkins Medicine, don't rush it. Controlled and slow is safer, and it builds more strength than a quick pop-up. Lower yourself back down slowly to the starting seated position. Johns Hopkins Medicine. Start with 5 repetitions, once a day. As that becomes comfortable over a week or two, work toward the standard research benchmark. A 5-time sit-to-stand set, done in one smooth sequence, NIH. Or eventually build toward doing as many controlled reps as you can in 30 seconds. A common test physical therapists use to track your progress. A few safety notes. If you feel dizzy, hold on to your support surface the entire time. If you have significant knee or hip pain, check with your doctor or physical therapist before starting. These exercises are intended for those at low fall risk who can stand without assistance from another person. Johns Hopkins Medicine. And this isn't a replacement for walking. Think of it as the missing piece. Walk for your heart. Sit to stand for your independence. To be clear, this video isn't telling you to throw away your walking shoes. Walking is still genuinely good for you. But if you're only walking and you're over 75, you're likely leaving the single most fall protective, independence protective exercise on the table. 5 slow, controlled sit-to-stands a day, building up over time, is one of the most evidence-backed moves you can add to your routine. If this was helpful, subscribe for more research-backed senior wellness tips, and let us know in the comments, have you tried sit-to-stand exercises before? As always, check with your doctor before starting any new exercise routine, especially if you have a history of falls or joint issues. See you in the next video.